15, I left school, and I didn't realise that, here I was at 17 driving GTs on a test drive, and don't say no, say yes. So
I said yes too, and very quickly I realised I should have said no.
We are one of the leaders, yeah. Blue Rolls Royce Silver Shadow is parked in the car park. Changed, come out.
Value your worth.
Value your worth, that's right. And I was the only Australian in my team. My family's been here since the 1850s. Probably had a little bit of PTSD from working over there. Yeah, it was just a mid-sized jet.
What are you complaining about?
Well, you wanted adventure.
Oh,
you got it.
Did I make a mistake?
Did I make a mistake? Yeah.
That's when that yes comes in.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes, I made a mistake. Welcome back to the Gold Room. We've got a bloody ripper episode today. We've got Jayson Cable. Many people will know you, Jace, around the world.
Thanks,
is that right?
Thanks, Josh. Yep, they probably do. Yeah, good and bad.
For sure, mate. Things like that are said about me every day.
Oh, I know. I no doubt tell everyone every day about that as well. So.
Mate, look, we'll kick things off with the life and the times. Give us a rundown on who Jayson Cable is.
Geez, where to start, Josh? From a mining point of view, 15, I left school.
It's the common trend, man.
Common trend in my age group for trades.
Yep.
So, did a trade locally up in the hills in Perth. I'm originally from Perth, West Australia. My family's been here since the 1850s.
Beautiful.
We'll touch on that later.
Yeah.
15, did an apprenticeship up in the hills as a heavy-duty fitter or diesel fitter. I didn't realise at the time, but where I did my time was an amazing place to do your apprenticeship. It was two owners, a small business. You saw the pressures and what they had to do to make money, work very hard, and they were fearless. They would take on anything. So
awesome.
One day I could be working, on a concrete truck. Next day I could be down at South Perth Yacht Club fixing a launch.
That'd be all right.
And then working on a garbage truck or a concrete truck the following day. And then hot cars. One of my bosses was a petrol head from Darwin, and he had a reputation. So GTs, Tiranas, all that, all the hot cars. I didn't realise that here I was at 17 driving GTs on a test drive and those type of things. So that was
lucky.
You don't realise until you look back later. From that period of time, then I went and worked for Toyota. So went to work for Toyota on full drives and diagnostics bays and all that. Because I'd done so many different things and I didn't realise that at the time, I was qualified at 19 as a full tradie.
Wicked.
Worked for Toyota, working in diagnostic bay, full drives. Got to understand the Toyota principles around lean and all those. We used to go to state service and all that, and their training was very good. I take a lot from how Toyota train their people. So I did that. Really enjoyed it. On bonus systems, it was very driven, in a big workshop when you've got like 10 or 12 tradies. You have a bonus system, the book out time versus what you do, what you get done, pretty much means that you have to drive it. You have to, if you want to make money and get extra bonus, you've got to do the service quicker than what the book time is. But I was booked to the diagnostic bay, which means, all the problem cars come to me. So, talk to the boss and saying, look, I'm worth more money than these guys, and when you're sort of 20, you're nervous. That my boss used to be an ex-Vietnam vet.
Yep.
Was very scary, had one eye, we would go through and, he didn't even hesitate. He says, we'll definitely pay you more money.
Awesome.
So it was good.
Yep. I think that's a key point. Value your worth.
Value your worth. That's right, and back yourself. Some people back themselves and they're not don't have that worth. But if you've got a good work ethic and you work hard, I think you'll go a long way.
I keep saying that same thing, Jason.
Yeah. Late 90s, I wanted to get into the mining industry. At that time, it was very hard to get in the mining industry. It was very tight. Very cost controls and the gold market was up and down. So, put our words out through the Toyota parts guys because they used to send a lot of stuff up to the sites.
They still do, mate.
And reps,
They're everywhere.
They do very well. Then there was an opportunity to go to a gold mine. There was an opportunity. I decided to go to mining. I was about 24, 25. So,
awesome.
Yeah. Flew in, went up near north of Leinster, small mine up there, gold mine. Had a shaft at the time as well. So I turned up. I got there, the flight had been diverted to Leonora. No one told me where to go. Then I managed to get on the right bus to go to this
Lucky.
site. Yeah, another 2 hours away. You know what it's like out
Yeah,
there.
I sure do.
So did that, and got out there. Arrived about 8 o'clock at night. Again, just dump you off in camp.
Yep, go and find the key to your room. Where's the office?
Talk about we talk a lot about resilience, Josh. And you have to have resilience.
Sure do.
So go into the dry mess.
I would have picked you for a wet mess first.
Well, no, not at that time. I went into the dry mess. The chef, as they said, if you have any problems, go and see the chef. So then, then eventually, you get given a room and. Yeah, wow.
What were the rooms like back then on your first mining gig?
You know what? They weren't too bad. Single accommodation, no toilet, no shower. So 5-man, 5-man to a donga.
Yeah.
At that time, that camp was transitioning from a live-in camp, where people lived up there for long periods of time to fly in, fly out. We were doing two and one at that time, on 3 and 1. So they still had a golf course. They had a motocross track in the waste dump. It's just stuff like that. They had a caravan park with 100 bays for caravans for airleggers and all that. So they had kids there. They used to take the kids to school in Leinster. So, a lot of things.
It's a wild time. What year?
That was 96, 97. A lot of things, you look back, of about 29 years I've been in the industry, and it's changed so much, So
you're not taking kids out to a mine site, although might be better than some of the schools that are out there at the moment.
Yeah, a very good community, spirit on the mine site. There was a lady that had a bus, and they drove them to school every day and brought them back from Leinster,
Awesome.
They most of them lived in the caravan park, on site. Which
what a community feel.
You look back now and you go, that's pretty amazing now to the controls and that we have on site. Really interesting site. I went there originally as a light vehicle fitter, and then again as we've talked about before, Josh, about saying yes.
Always
don't say no, say yes. Would you like to? Would you like to go and learn about power generation and mills and all that sort of stuff? So, yes, of course, I was young. I wanted to learn everything. I'm a very, very curious person, like you are. Off we went. Power generation. So learning about how to the power generation on site. So looking after that, and it's like, would you like to go underground and learn about pumps and learn about how to maintain the shaft and that? So yes, so.
I said yes too, and very quickly I realised I should have said no.
Well, you do, but again, it's all experience, and it put me in good stead. That mine was going for another 1 or 2 years, and then it was starting to close down. So they stopped they stopped the mill, and they were hauling dirt to one of their other sites. So again, they started to reduce in size, and my day in the end was I'd get up. I was doing dewatering as well out in the ball field, so that was on the way to work, and then shoot through to site, check the power station, then hop in the shaft, go underground, do all the pump run, and come back by 10 o'clock in the morning. That was my morning, and then any other breakdowns or preventive maintenance we used to do after that. So pretty interesting and crazy place, like you said. Less regulations, less controls. A little bit more like the Wild West in those days. Yep. One funny story.
What uniforms were you wearing back then?
Just blue shorts, short sleeves. I've got pictures of me underground.
Could you send them to us?
Yeah,
get them over to us because Dimitri will throw them in. That'll be awesome.
Underground, working in khakis, but sleeves cut off. Again, regulations now is sleeves fully down at the face, all those type of things. Whereas previously, it wasn't. It was very hot. Like I spent a lot of times underground, wading into sumps, pulling out sump pumps and all that.
Was there a lot of injuries back then, Jace? Or do you think, obviously, lack of intense regulations?
I often think about that, Josh. There's no such thing as the good old days, or as I've always been told. But there was times we had a lot smaller crews. We seemed to get a lot more work done. Maybe I'm just getting old and forget about the hard times. But it was tough. We didn't have a lot of injuries, but sometimes when we did have injuries, they were big injuries.
Yeah, okay.
So I think, we have worked towards, improvements from safety and those type of things in the industry for sure. It's definitely come a long way. lot more regulation with DMERS. You know, DMERS is a lot.
I think they do a great job.
They do a lot more presence. You know. In the industry, and they've obviously ramped up in regards to their inspectors and those type of things. So yeah, it's definitely good for us. You know, like we've talked about this before as well, but you know, they are here to help us. You know, to improve. You know, and the mines regs are paid in blood. So
I say the same thing, Jace.
You know, they don't.
They
write
say
them,
written in blood for a reason.
Yeah.
Someone's died.
Yes, or someone's been injured, and we've learnt from it. And they see all the injuries around, you know, WA, Australia, and the world, and then they adjust and change to suit that. And you know, that's, I think I've worked all over the world, and we'll talk about that later. But from a mining regulations,
you think we're doing it better than the rest?
We are one of the leaders, yeah.
Awesome.
And WA is a hub, you know, which it's a very unusual hub in the world where you can go from one mine to another. All you got to do, you can still live in the same place, and
it's wild.
Yeah, and then just
jump on another plane.
Whereas other places, that's not the case. You have to move your family, you have to go to another country town, and all those type of things. So that was my first place that I worked at. One other funny story I've just got to mention on this as well is, again, some of the crazy things that you see. You know, you've talked about it.
Yeah,
a lot.
you go.
You know, when I was working there and I was working underground, again, the contract mining in those days, they got paid very well. Some of them were getting paid more then than they were now. Okay, this is like 25, 26 years ago.
That's
crazy.
crazy.
You know, I had a group of air leggers there, so that's the air leggers are the rock drills, you know, that they actually hold, and you know, and they've got a jack, and we used to look after all those drills as well, but. Had some guys there. You talk about eccentric people in those days. You know, they would come up from underground. They work less hours than the rest of the mine because it's a harder role. I think they only work about 8 hours a day rather than 12. Yep. Shower, get changed. Their blue Rolls Royce Silver Shadow is parked in the car park. It's about 5 k's to camp. It was on bitumen, and the three of them would, you know, get changed, come out covered in mud, dirt, you know, and then have a shower, get into their nice Rolls Royce Silver Shadow with the lambskin sheet covers and drive to camp.
Do you remember their names?
No, I don't remember their names. I was quite young at the time, but I was just amazed. You know,
Did you just think straight away you would have been like, that's what I need to do?
It was.
The
it was
equivalent
like,
now for these young fellas that started mining is they see dreamy Jayson Dowling and he's on the twin boom.
Yeah,
you know, it's the twin boom operator, right?
Twin boom operators, the development drills, and then you've got production drills as well. But the development drills, they're sort of like the alpha dogs, you know, in the underground teams besides the shift bosses. So
Rolls Royce, that's crazy.
It was at that time. It was at that time. I was just couldn't believe it. You know, I was still very young. You know,
I wonder if that's like the miners that go out and buy the brand new Holden Club Sport or the brand new or go down buy a
probably
jet
is now,
ski or something.
Marley Ute, or not now, but obviously different thing. Land Cruisers are the thing now, aren't they?
300 series,
300 series, or the dual cabs. So anyway, that mine was starting to close down, and again. Because I was multi-skilled and I'd had all those skills, again, when we got transferred, they said we're going to transfer you to one of our other mines. They had about 5 mines within the group at that time. So then I got sent through to another area it was Darlow near Leonora.
Yeah.
So again, I was there for about 6 or 7 years. But again,
you got some family ties to Darlow?
I have. I haven't got family ties, but as fate has it. You know, my family's been here since the 1850s. The original cable that came into WA was a pensioner guard, was guarding prisoners as they come across. And then the family had a big family, and then they spread out all over the place. And one part of that family in Kalgoorlie cables is, a lot of them went exploration right up through that area in the early days. So Mount Morgan's, I've got pictures of, you know, cables in their suits and ties and, you know, out in the desert, you know, they're having their Sunday lunch, and then out near Laverton as well. Obviously, I was excited to see your previous podcast with Eric Hill as well.
Awesome.
So I know his dad as well. You know, Peter, I'd like to shout out because he's actually a legend in the industry. You know, the Stockman Hall of Fame, if you look at Longreach, the similar equivalent over here, he would be right up there, you know.
Wow.
So, but yeah, some of the cables in the early days, turn of the century, went right through Darlow. Lo and behold, when I was working there, they had a couple of books that they'd done some research on, and the first people to discover, you know, gold up there were the cables. You know,
awesome.
So my ancestors, unbeknownst to me, were up there before me. So yeah, I spent a lot of years up there. Really enjoyed it. Again, looking at after the process side. Again, small crews in those days, so you got to do everything from poly welding to, you know, out in the field to. We were looking after the power station. That was one of my primary roles, and then other vehicles and then fitting. And then at one point, the mechanical engineer said to me, and he was fairly young too. He said, "I want you to come across and do maintenance supervising for the mills, you know, for the mechanical side." So,
what year was that?
Oh, geez, in about 2000, something like that. So. Yeah, I'd obviously worked in a very small team of 2 or 3 people, really very experienced guys that I work with. Some of the team that I work with there, you know, again, they've gone through into power generation in WA. They're sort of some of the big, you know, well-known people in that area. But yeah, we came across, worked in there in regards to the power station mills and then underground as well, because I had that underground experience. We used to go down and do, you know, pumps and all that sort of stuff as well. So yeah, did very well, enjoyed it. You know, we used to have a really good time. We used to work very hard, but you know, we'd go out in the bush, have a barbecue in the evenings. You know, with the maintenance teams. There's a
lot of camaraderie.
The camaraderie was really high there. You know, we used to get called out and other bits and pieces with the electrical team. We had a very close relationship, Josh, like with your brethren. You know, so. But we would help each other out. You know, nothing was a problem. Fatigue management at times was an issue, you know, in regards to, you know, working out extra hours and those type of things. And there was probably less controls than there is now, but which, again, that's another good thing that's coming out in regards to, you know, limiting people how many hours they can do and ensuring, you know, that again, just a reduction of incidents and accidents due to fatigue and that type of thing as well. So yeah, we used to do that. Really good career. But again, like you, I'm curious and I always want to try and learn different things and bits and pieces. So I was on the mills looking after all those type of things and I got to a point and I wanted to go overseas. You know, I had this hankering to go overseas. Previous, after I'd finished my apprenticeship, I'd went overseas for 2 years, just in UK general, like most some Australians do. You know,
do you like your little overseas experience?
Do my little overseas experience and that type of thing. So I did that for 2 years. I told my mum and dad I was going away for 3 months and come back 2 years later.
Awesome, Jace. That's cool.
But yeah, wanted to go overseas. Wanted to go to Africa for some reason. I had this thing about Africa, so I went to Africa.
Was that the first place you went for mining?
First place. It was my first expat role. So yeah, awesome. So I went to Africa, went to Tanzania, or Tanzania, whichever way you want to pronounce it. A lot of people from overseas, you know, in that area call it Tanzania. But yeah, again, talk about adventure. You know, the company I was working for at the time, I said to them, you know, I was a supervisor.
Still around?
They're still around. They're a major gold. They're one of the number 1 gold producers in the world. They're not. They don't have a presence in Australia anymore, but they have presence all over the world. I said to the people on the management on site, look, I want to go and do an expat role, and they're going, no, that's not going to happen. It's it's pretty too hard. You know, there's too many systems and processes. And again, and like we said about the yes, and don't want to hear about no. Yep. So,
or the squeaky wheel gets the grease.
The squeaky wheel gets the grease, and and I wasn't making any progress. And I'd done all the right things. You know, I'd been, and again, that was one of the reasons why they probably wanted to keep me there. But then, so I realised that they were recruiting through a contracting company in Perth for these roles, expat roles overseas. So I went in disguise. So I didn't disclose that I worked for the parent company, and I went in and did all their testing and all the bits and pieces. And then they said, "Oh, well, you've got the job," And I said, "Well, that's nice. Well, I work for you anyway, so just sign me over." So they
and no trouble, no
issues?
No.
So they did. So they
awesome.
did. Yeah. So they sent me across as an expat. And yeah, you talk about wanting adventure and that. It's like far out. It's a different world. We don't realise Western Australia
how good we have it.
So it was. it was definitely eye-opener. My first flight over there, you know, when I'd done all my interviews and everything, it's like I don't fly in any crazy ass, you know, Tanzanian Airways planes or anything like that. No. We've got our own company plane. This is all what's going to happen. I get to the capital, Dar es Salaam, and it's just it's a crazy place. It's an amazing place. I learnt to love it, but it messes with your head.
In what way?
Just the volume of people, the chaos, just the hum of the city, and again, not being discriminating or anything, but you stick out. You know, you're European, you know, or, you know, you're an Australian person, you know, with this throng of these people, you know, and you just feel so vulnerable.
Really? That would be water off a duck's back for you, wouldn't it, Jayson?
Look, it wasn't at that time because again we talk about resilience. I've built my resilience up over time, so you get there.
I'd love it. I'd thrive in a situation like that. I always do. I feel the same when I go to China. I just think, well, I can't speak the language. And no one's speaking English. It's wild. It
is wild, and you feel a little bit vulnerable because you can't understand what's going on. But no, it was really good. Got there, Dar es Salaam, and then you see, you know, again, it's not like home. You know, it's you know, you go to the hotel and it's completely covered by armed guards, you know, with AK-47s, and you know, you go through checkpoints, and then they're checking under the bus for bombs. You know, because if you remember with not Al-Qaeda. Well, no, Al-Qaeda, you know, and Osama bin Laden, that their first terrorist attack was in Dar es Salaam.
Was it?
Yeah, before 9/11. So they blew up the American embassy there.
And I always said, no politics, no religion, and no bloody bad quarterly reports. Right, but I'm sure we can leave that in there.
Anyway, they so with that, obviously, where we had our hotel, and that was in this area called Oyster Bay, which is a fairly secure area in the city, and that's where all the embassies were. So we got to drive past those embassies, and they're so far back from the road for protection and from RPGs and all those sorts of things. It was wild. So then we flew out to site. So my first time to fly out to site was, okay, where's the company plane? Oh, it's broken. Okay, you're flying on Air Tanzania to Mwanza, which is out near Lake Victoria. So I get on this plane, you know.
What was the plane like? Little twin prop?
No, it was a jet. It was it was just a mid-sized jet.
What are you complaining about?
Yeah, but it was interesting. You know, I was like counting the chickens and you know, and everything in the plane. You know,
dead set.
it was pretty wild.
Wow.
You know, and
I've seen buses like that. I've seen buses with like crazy
the buses.
shit
That's where we worked. So got to Mwanza, which is right on Lake Victoria. Landed, you know, and it's monsoon season, there's rain and everything, and then I get off that and I go, okay, where's the bus to take me to site? And they're going, no, now you're getting on that. And it was like a 4-seat Cessna, you know, and the storm and everything's coming on. So I get on this and they're just hopping over the mountains, you know, the windows are open, you know, and there I was thinking at that time, I'm going, well, you wanted adventure.
Oh,
you got it.
Did I make a mistake?
Did I make a mistake? You know, yeah.
That's when that yes comes in.
That's right.
Yes, I made a mistake.
And then
I gave it a go.
And then flying into the site, you're flying along, and then you just see a compound. So this was 2 Ks by 1 K compound. Looks like a prison camp, basically. You know,
I've heard that.
Double razor wire. You know, so land outside the airport and then go through the checkpoint into the mine, and it's. Again, it's a fortress within a fortress within a fortress. So
armed guards are around the perimeter of those sites.
So that site, you have a main entrance where you go through, full search. We had Gurkha mercenary team that used to work there as well, again, to reduce the corruption within the local security force. And then, there was security guards about every 200 metres on checkpoints all the way around the twin razor wire fence 24/7, you know, to protect the mine. So. And then you camp inside the expat camp and some of the other team that worked in there.
What were those camps like?
When I got there, it was interesting. Some very nice accommodation. So there was a manager's camp, a expat camp, and then the original contractors camp. And when I got there, I was with a couple of other Western Australian mining team. They were shift bosses for underground, and I was maintenance. So I got there and. You go, who do you work for? And it's like, I work for mining. Or you go to the nice, you know, expat camp, which was like block houses and, you know, quite nice. Who do you work for? I work for maintenance. You're in the contractors camp. So again, I was back to sharing ablutions, with the rest of the maintenance team and the rest of the some of our African team as well.
Yeah, cool.
So
Cool.
again,
That's what I'd ask. I'd ask for that. I'd ask for that.
yeah. Look,
like
a very confronting. It was old camp. Again, we had malaria. There's lots of
You had malaria yourself?
No, everyone. But malaria. It was a malaria zone. So again, outside you've got
Right.
to have everything on. Insect repellent. If you don't, you get malaria.
Yeah.
Plus other things. There was lots of other tropical diseases. That sub-Saharan zone is just renowned.
You just made me remember. Yeah. Do you know Dan Carlin?
Yes.
He's a wild man, isn't he?
He
He's got 3 tattoos of mosquitoes, and each one gets bigger and
malaria,
bigger
so,
because every time he got malaria,
Yeah,
and nearly killed him every time.
When I first met him, no, I knew what it was. I was the only one that had guessed because I've seen that before with some other expats they have mosquitoes tattooed on them. But it's malaria is one of the biggest killers, as you know, of kids and people in Africa. So that was pretty confronting, taking medication, and some of the medication, depending what country. I was the only Australian in my team when I first started, and we had Canadians and South Africans and Zimbabweans and everything, all working within the team. And depending where you came from, they gave you different medication. Like when I first started, it was doxycycline, which is like an antibiotic, and has a few side effects with light and other things. Whereas some of the other teams that came from Canada and they had these other new medication that was coming out. But basically it just gives you trippy dreams and you start hallucinating and the Canadians, when they first started, after a first couple of weeks, you'd be going, what medication are you on? And it's like, I'm on this, and it's like, I think you need to get off it,
Really? Even during the day, they were
during the day, and then, or they think that their wives at home were having affairs, and that it would just build, all these types of things. But it was, they'd change medication. But the medications like Malaria now is a good antibiotic. Is a good for malaria medication. That they issue now, which is a lot better than some of the others. So interesting. You like to see a lot of confronting stuff in Africa, the local villages and those type of things. You would. I often think about Western Australia at the turn of the 1900s. Everyone says, this is crazy. You see this in Africa. You have these social issues, so you build a mine, and then the local village just grows and grows and grows because everyone wants to go and work in an area that's paying good money, stable in those areas. And then that brings in, other contingents, corrupt people, prostitution, all these types of things. And, how does this happen? It's like, well, it happened in WA at the turn of the century. Kalgoorlie, in those days was a wild place. Let's face it. There was
still is, mate. Still is a wild place.
But everyone wants from what I've seen where I've worked around the world, everyone just wants their kids to do better than they did, and go education and they want all those medical and all those facilities. So I worked in Tanzania, and then did about 18 months there, and then I was getting very tired. Done lots. It was 8 weeks on, 4 weeks off, and then there's times where we'd done 12 weeks. Because the supervisor would resign. So it was pretty tough, and definitely built my resilience and tolerance to things. Some scary things, we talked about. Some of the workforce they were going to change rosters, and they were going to drop some of the workforce on the site. So they have a big town hall meeting. So there's 2,000 people, and then probably 20 or 30 expats. We're told we must attend, and it's a bit scary when you're in a group that big and you know what's going to come up, and then there's riot security with full body armour, full face shields, videoing everything, and the general manager's telling them that we're going to probably lose a third of the workforce is going to lose their job. So, and you just hear the throng and the silence, and then you hear them getting noisy, and you're going, geez, I hope they don't take that out on me. And a couple of guys I was working with at the time, it's. We had a lot of gear that was going to go off site. We had a couple of big loaders and everything sitting there, and I was resting up against the loader ladder, and I was saying to my mate, look, if it all turns crazy, we'll be in the loader and we'll be through that fence and out of here, get away, So So yeah, but it was very, very fulfilling. I got to meet.
Nothing happened after that town hall meeting?
No, the general manager was very, very clued up in cultural and how you treat people, and JC, as we talked about before, about how you treat people. How you want to be treated is how you treat people. So when I worked over there, it's their country. I'm a visitor.
Yeah.
I had to learn the language or parts of the language again because with my pre-starts and the crews, they're part of their culture is to greet people. If you don't greet people, you're my enemy basically. So so I would learn to say, greet them in Swahili.
Yep.
Learn some of the language, and again they would look after us. A couple of you talk about scary experiences. Had really good relationship with the team. So they would say, Jayson, we think there's going to be a riot today with the mining crews. You might need to go and check that fan that's right out in the outlying area, away from everything. So, so I had a really good relationship with them. Likewise, they were very unionised over there as well, and the whole site striked except for the maintenance team. So our maintenance.
Why was that?
Because we had such a good relationship with them. So they would riot. They would strike. So the company, all the local workforce striked, and then our team said, "We're not going to strike. We're going to stay here." But what would happen is, then the heavy union people would say to them, because they all lived outside in the local community, they would say, "If you don't strike, we're going to go and kill your family."
What?
Yeah, and trust me, they meant that. They would. So we said to our team, go on strike with the rest of the workforce. We won't hold that against you. Yeah. Your family's more important than the job. So that's what we did. So yeah, and they did. But we had a very good relationship with them. And when I left there, they gave me a really good party, and they gave me some really cool gifts. They gave me some Maasai spears that they'd selected.
You've got them at home?
Yeah, I've got them at home.
Awesome.
And other items, that they gave me as departure gifts. But I used to send lots of stuff to them as well.
Cool. That's really nice.
So it was really good. So I had a really good relationship with a lot of them. So then, I by that stage I was getting a bit burnt out with that side of things, and then came back to Australia. I got asked by a couple of the members of the same company. Was with one company for about 8 years, but I went all over the place. So and then I came back to Australia and did a couple of roles over here up in northeast goldfields again on some mine sites, and again more heavily into the underground mobile side. Looking after some of the contracts, with some of the major OEMs, and then working with those teams, up in there, really again very hot conditions up past Meekatharra and all those type of areas, but again enjoyed it, again. But when I came back and they said, "Oh, you're going to be doing 9 and 5," I'd been doing 8 weeks on, 4 weeks off, and.
Yep. What am I going to do for 5 days?
Yeah, I can't. It was like being on holidays for a couple of years. It really was. Like I'd come there, and again there was no fences. I think I had a little bit of. I look back now, I didn't realise, but I probably had a little bit of PTSD from working over there. Yep. Because when I came back, it was no fences. You look at the milling in the gold room area. The security wise is a lot more lax over there. There was fortress within a fortress, with armed guards, machine guns, helicopters coming in and getting gold at the middle of the night so it didn't get shot down and all those type of things. So, and coming back to Western Australia, it was a little bit surreal. It took me a long time to sort of settle down a bit because, it was, again, we didn't realise how good we had it, and I was looking at all these people going, "Far out, you're whinging about this food, really,
look, Jace, I'll be honest, I've whinged about some food, and I've whinged about some camp food from time to time over the years,
Yeah. Yeah, but you still look like you're in a good paddock, though, JC.
Thanks, mate. Oh, mate.
No, and all mining camps, people come and they're, and say, let's see how you go after 12 months. Everyone puts a few kilos.
They call it the camp tent.
Camp tent.
The camp tent.
Yeah.
Could be because you've never seen bacon and eggs every single morning for breakfast.
Exactly.
Everyone just starts baking eggs every morning for breakfast. And then before you know it, you've blown out.
That's right.
Some people are blowing out a lot more than others.
Some
people's buttons are about to bloody go.
Exactly.
You know,
So-
not that there's anything wrong with being,
No. And look, mining camps now, there's a bit more presence about eating right, giving good options and all that sort of thing. So, and exercise and that as well.
Yeah,
So
there's some great gyms. I've been to quite a few different camps, and there's some really awesome gyms out there.
Yeah.
So that's just mining companies that are wanting to look after the health and well-being of their employees and contractors.
Yep.
That's bloody ripper.
Yeah. No, so then, again, that was looking after a contract with an OEM that was doing the maintenance. And then, again, I wanted to get back into underground and mobile and my roots.
Yep.
So then I got transferred again. I got transferred about 3 or 4 times. Again, when they had problems in certain areas, they would send me for some reason. And
Smart, Jace, that's why.
I don't know what it was, yeah. Either or that I wouldn't say no, like you said, just say yes. You know. So off I went. Went there, and that was a owner-maintainer mine site. They'd just been underground for about 2 or 3 years. And they're transitioning from open pit to an underground operation up near hill country, up near Laverton. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. So and that's when I got to meet some of the hill, like with Peter and that type of thing. He was looking after the station, which the mine was on.
Yep. He came and hunted you down, didn't he?
Yeah, he a couple of guys that we were working through there, again, knew him well because he'd come in, we'd have a cup of coffee with him. He'd come in, in his Land Cruiser, off the station, onto the mine site. And if he needed something, we'd always help him out, And a couple of my guys were dewatering, really good relationship with him. Bushy, which was one of the guys that I worked with for a lot of years in a couple of mine sites. Again, dewatering. He came from Darwin, and he used to, rope bulls and shoot from helicopters and all sorts of things. So he used to go and help Peter, out in the station, and with the waters, supplies and all that sort of stuff. So we used to go and do that. But yeah, he one of the guys said, Peter understands that your surname is Cable, and he said, this is what Jayson Cable will look like, and he'd never met me before.
Really?
And I thought, and then I finally met him, and then we had a chat, and he's going, he says there's a cable street in Laverton. And I said, what? You
didn't know?
I didn't know, no, because that's a different part of my family, and he said, and the cables, they roamed wild and free out here, on stations and with the hills, they used to meet at certain corners.
They were 1890s into Coolgardie.
Yeah.
The hills?
Yeah. Yeah, and same with the cables. I've got some pictures of in between Kalgoorlie and Laverton. They had stores out there and all sorts of things. So mining suppliers. A little bit similar to what you do. But yeah, in those days, they supplied all the. They were bringing sheep in from Esperance, on the Holland track and all that sort of stuff to supply the miners. It's like rather than the hungry jacks you have today, it's like there's your sheep, It's still got a heartbeat. Off you go,
Kind of what you're doing on a weekend after.
So yeah. Anyway, I met him, and again, he's just the epitome of of a Western Australian. From that era, he's just amazing. You shake his hands, and you look at his hands, and
calloused up the collar.
His hands are like concrete. It's just, you can tell that of all where he's been and what he's done, and just a lovely bloke. And I've been back to his house in Laverton, which is iconic as well, with the amount of gear that's around there. And as Eric puts it, that's his legacy. That's his birthright. There's so much good gear there. Old cars and all sorts of things. But met him. And really enjoyed working there. We were building the mine up. We were getting it really staged up for underground, going through and doing a lot of work there, transitioning away from open pit. And so back to my roots, and then it was very, very, very hard to start off with there. There was just a lot of things had been let go. But we spent a lot of time and built up the teams. And I still have very good relationships with some of those teams. And some of those teams are working with me now where I work now as well.
Oh, awesome.
So even now.
Yeah. I think that's a key, is that if you're known to be a good person, if you're known to be knowledgeable in your trade, but if you're just not an arrogant dickhead, then you're going to have people that want to come back and work with you, right?
100%.
You would have met some people some horrible people.
There's
right, but
there's
luckily
a lot
in mining, the good people far outweigh those people that you really don't want to be working with.
And it's a small world. When working overseas as well, is Western Australians or Australians are people like to work with you because you usually you're not too many dickheads.
Yeah.
And normally it's a can-do attitude. You can get in there and get the work done. And that's what I found. And even in other countries like Tanzania, we'd get a resume. Okay, and we'd say, this guy wants to come as an expat in here, and then they hand it around and say, do you know this guy? Yes, no. Yes, I know him. Would you employ him? No, he's a dickhead. Or again, it doesn't take long. But again, if you,
it's a small. It really is a small industry.
It's a small industry. Gold's even smaller.
That's right.
Mining is big in WA, but gold is a small industry right around the world, and those specialist skills. They go to all different areas, and you soon get known around the traps if for good or bad. So,
Jace, what do you think makes a good superintendent, or what do you think makes a good mining manager?
Oh, that's a very good question, JC. Over my period of my career, you look at it now, it's about 80% people and 20%, the other things, learning how to deal with people, how to manage people, how to put the right people together. Originally, when I started as a supervisor, you make the common mistakes, this is how it's going to be, this is how it is. This is how we follow it, and anyone outside of that is not going to meet the picture. But you just have to. You can have one person that's good at this and not good at something else, and you find someone else that's good with the other piece, and you build those teams. Yep. And like we talked about with Africa, it's everyone just wants the best for their family. They just want to earn a crust, and try and do a decent day's work, and then go home and and then spend time with their family. So. Yep. Just building that relationship. So everything I used to do with superintendents and even now, I like to talk to the people and know at least one or two things personal about them. So I'll go and talk to them. Yeah, I'll go and talk to people, and I know that this guy loves his cars, hot cars and all this. I know this guy, is a family man. He goes fishing and does this. So when I catch up with those people, just for chit chat, just say how you going? How's your boat going? All this. Yeah. And then they're engaged with you. And, if you get them engaged and you work as a team...
That's right.
It really makes the world of difference, world of difference.
On the opposite side of that, what do you think is, if you had to use one word to describe a difficult superintendent or manager, what would be that one word that you think that's a difficult person to work with because they are...
I'd say just disruptive, If the team's not aligned, you're only as good as the team that you work with, right? So you've got to build that team. You can't be a fantastic superintendent and have no one below you that can do the work and can execute that work consistently. Yeah. So one thing when I left the place up in Laverton I was talking about, again, we went a long way. We developed. We had some good managers that would let us do some innovation and technology and all sorts of things. And when I left, I thought about it and I thought, what would be my legacy when I leave? What is the definition of success as leaving as a superintendent in this area? And again, putting your own insecurities and I'm good, and when I leave, the place is going to fall apart because they
hear it all
me.
the time.
They need me.
Oh shit!
But it doesn't happen like that.
You hear it all the time. You're just a bum in a seat. You're just a number on the board.
No one's indispensable.
Exactly.
So I'm
just going to put someone else in that role. Smart.
I thought about it, and I thought my definition of success is I can leave, and that group and that team will continue to work and grow because we've got everything set up in the systems for them. And I believe, and I might get told otherwise after this, but when I left there, it continued to run. The right people were in the right places, and it just continued to grow, and still performs well today. So
I've seen a legacy. I've actually worked on a mine site many years ago where I witnessed a legacy issue. that you left behind. We won't go into
we
that.
won't go there. But again, that's a lesson in learning how to choose the right people.
100%. 100%. Look, I don't blame you entirely. There were other people involved at that point in time. What do you do?
No, what do you do? And you learn as you go. You know, you're never going to be perfect. No one's ever going to make all the right decisions. 100% of the time.
Mate,
so
everyone's always learning. The moment that you think that you know it all, you're in the fucking wrong room, right?
And then I cast my, we're saying the first couple of mines I worked at, I was a cocky young bugger, and, as everyone is, and I've got a couple of friends that I've worked with for a long time. And at that time, you don't know what you don't know, and you look back now and even the young guys I have now that work with me that come into and they go, we're going to do this. And I go, I don't think that's going to work. Yeah. And they go, how do you know? And it's like, well, I've got the experience, but you've got to let them go through that journey and learn as well. You can't just make all the decisions for them. Yep. And that's what I've learned as well. You've got to push them in the right direction and let them make a few mistakes, and then they'll learn from that and move forward as well. If you just take all those things away from them, they think, then again, they don't feel like they've got control over their destiny as well.
That's fantastic, Jayson. I hope that there's some people that watch this that might actually take some of that information on, valuable information.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for that. Mate, do you want to go into some other countries in the world that you've travelled to, So you've brushed over Africa.
So, I went to Africa, and then, I went back to a place near Laverton, and then I had an opportunity. Again, it's the saying yes, right? Again, so here's my lesson in life. Okay, so they'd said, our company did some things where you'd go to different sites to do reviews and bits and pieces, and one of the managers was sick, and I was a superintendent there. I was a fairly experienced superintendent at that time, and then they said, we need you to go to New Guinea, for 2 weeks to a site up in the Highlands, and I'm like, okay, right. And he said, yeah, we need you to take the place of this guy. And I'd already done 2 weeks on site, and I thought, yeah, okay, all right, fine, And again, I could have said no, but said yes, and off I went up into the Highlands of New Guinea, and wow,
mate, amazing!
What a place! Yeah, amazing countryside. It's just a beautiful place. It's just an amazing place. Try and link it to a couple of movies. James Cameron, with a couple of his movies, we flew up in an aircraft the first time, light aircraft, from Port Moresby. You go to Mount Hagen, which is up in the Western Highlands, and even that flight is amazing. And then from there you hop on a smaller plane, and then you fly to the site, and it's like something out of Jurassic Park.
Really?
You fly off, and it's all mist. And then you're flying along in a valley, and it's all mist. And then out on each side, if you look, there's mountains sticking out of, there's lots of plane crashes and lots of helicopter crashes up there. So, we went up there flying along, and then next thing you know, they got radar and you're going, where are they going to land? And then they pop through a hole in the clouds in the mist, and then they're flying directly at a big mountain just full of jungle. And you're going, okay, this is interesting. Sure. And you look down, and then there's an airstrip on the side of the mountain, like a big ski ramp, and they're flying directly at it from a 90 degree. Okay, and then at the last minute they bank, put it on its side, come in, and then land on this runway, going up this runway.
Wow.
Yeah, and you go, wow, that's
a talented pilot.
That's
right? They'd be used to it.
Yeah, and that's about 1,900 metres above sea level, 2,000, so your lungs are starting to feel a little bit, it's a little bit higher. And you, again, get into a compound, and then all the buses are armoured, all the vehicles are armoured.
Is it quite dangerous? I've heard it can be quite...
Can be.
It used to be, I don't know about now.
Still is. Can be.
Really?
No, it can be. So, we used to drive through the village to go to the mine and the camps, and again, they're all compounds and secure. So, again, very interesting culture up there. I did love it, but very much so, family groups, clans and all that type of thing. So, no, it was good. So I went up there for a couple of weeks, underground, surface, got to see the whole site, with what we were doing. And then while I was there, our corporate audit team was there doing some work, and I got to talk to them, and I was helping them out do some stuff. And then halfway through the site visit, they said, "We want to interview you for a job. Are you interested?"
Right. You got into corporate auditing, didn't you?
Yeah. Are you interested?
Forgot about that.
And they said, and again, yes.
Yeah.
So, fortunately,
That's a huge change.
It was, because I'd had a lot of experience with mobile equipment and underground, and they needed those skill sets as a subject matter expert for their team.
Yep.
So I went back home and spoke to my partner at the time and said, look, this has been an opportunity. Should I take it? So, yeah, we agreed to. And then I spoke to my general manager on site, who's a very well-known in the mining industry in WA now.
Is it still around?
She is, yeah.
She is?
Yeah,
Wow.
really
Awesome.
good. And, said, look, I've had this opportunity. Would you endorse this? Because you needed your general manager to endorse it within the company. And she said, yeah, go for it.
Great.
So
Great.
I'd worked with her over in Tanzania. She worked in Tanzania as in the processing over there as well. And off I went into the corporate world as a health safety lead audit for the company. So that was a big learning curve. And so every month I was off on, so that's where I got to go to South America. So I went to Argentina, Chile and Peru, and all along the back of the Andes up in high altitude was where we worked. So Peru, we would fly up to site in a twin otter, and there's oxygen masks in the plane. So you get to because they're not pressurised. So you get to it was our company plane, and we would have to audit the maintenance procedures on the planes as well. So it was...
That's wild. I'd be like, I don't like this. Put me in a pressurised plane.
Yeah. So we'd go in and land, and pretty much at that altitude, I think it was 4,200 metres, that was the ceiling height for that plane. And they're saying, we're either going to crash or we're going to land. There's no turning around because you don't have the lift. So, you come in and you're all on oxygen and you land, and it's just, land up in this area. And again, it's like a different world, different planet, So, going there, having a look at big open pits, big heap leach systems, amazing countryside. I couldn't understand, the Chile was one side, and then Argentina and then Peru's above that. And you go, how can this be a natural border where you can't cross? But you get up there and you go, oh my God, this is just amazing. Going up to 4,000 metres. I think my record was 5,200 metres we had a mine that we went to. So,
wow. Difficult working in those conditions?
Very difficult. So a couple of mines there. Again, very good medical teams up there.
Getting a blood nose or anything?
Oh, they're some of the leaders in high altitude medicine. So you get up there and they put you on oxygen straight away in the clinic, and they look how quickly you recover.
Yep.
With your oxygen saturations, because your oxygen saturation in your blood goes down. Yep. You get lightheaded and you get all sorts of things. And then they'll know straight away, and they'll say, you're not recovering fast enough, you need to get back down the hill. Because helicopters can't pick you up at 4,000 metres. There's only a couple of different kinds of helicopters that can go up to a certain ceiling, so you'd have to go down lower. So if something happens up there, you're in a bit of trouble. So they had a full operating theatre and everything up in a couple of these mine sites that I worked at. So because they could get snowed in and all that sort of stuff. So that was really good. Spent a lot of time up there. High altitude working, very. It really drains you. Like when you get up that altitude, some of those areas in your room, pretty much you wake up every hour because your body's telling you you're dying, you're running out of oxygen. Fatigue, and then you start to get a little bit used to it. But any little incline or anything like that, you can't eat too much, because if you eat too much, the blood goes to your stomach rather than to try and breathe. So then you got a couple of times on my way back from the crib room, JC. I think I'll just fit in that last little cake, and then halfway back to my room, I'm lying on the footpath. No joke.
Yeah.
With the head spins. Yeah, because you're lying there to recover, and then just till you can get then you can feel like you can walk back to your room. And it was only like a little incline back to your room, but pretty amazing. So spent a lot of time there. Went to Dominican Republic in Central America, near Haiti.
Yep. Wow.
Amazing.
Another eye-opener.
Another eye-opener, really beautiful place. Amazing, amazing countryside. So, worked there. Canada, in northern Canada. So I worked in a couple of areas in Ontario, in the northern areas of that again, just understanding the cold and all those types of things. US in Nevada. So went to Nevada as well, and that was really good. They're very similar to Western Australians, that area, northern Nevada, big mining hub. They have a couple of towns like Elko, and again, that's the main hub. But they do it a lot tougher than we do. They live in the town. They don't like fly in, fly out over there. We had one mine there that had a bit of a camp, but again, they would rather travel an hour and a half each way and still do a 12-hour shift on a bus, to go be home with their families. So, but yeah, it was really, really good experience. And again, you're always comparing how we mine and how we do things in Western Australia, and naturally, like anyone does, and how they do things. So I got to see so many good things that I could share as an auditor. Part of my job as an auditor was to make sure that the company followed all the right policies and procedures, but also the government regulations in different countries. Like I was, you talk about DMERS, but Chile, again, trying to basically translate into English some of the mines regs so I could understand them, and then I had interpreters, and I'd have to do a presentation in English and then in Spanish with an interpreter.
Yeah, wow.
So again, amazing learning experience.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Really, really great. So,
do you think your time travelling in the mining industry, you would highly recommend that to anybody?
Yeah, I do. Just be careful what you wish for sometimes.
Some people aren't resilient enough to be able to cope with that.
Third world countries, and that comes with risks. Sometimes, again, people say, well, would I go to Africa again to work? Probably not in a lot of areas, because, again, all it takes is to get malaria. You can have a side effect, or typhoid, or lots of other...
So you didn't have the girls at the time?
Sorry?
You didn't have, when you were travelling to Africa?
No, first time...
Single man?
No. First time I was still with a partner, but no, my kids weren't there when I went to Tanzania initially. I didn't have any kids, and then obviously in the second time I did, and that was one of the reasons why I came back to Australia after that. After about two years, the company was starting to move out of Australia. I was allowed to stay in Australia with when I was doing the corporate role, but then they started to basically withdraw from Australia and more focus in South America and other areas, and they wanted to move to the US. But at that time, my kids were in school, primary school, and I also noticed that it was great for them. Obviously, their dad works all over the world, and every month I'd have to bring them a present back, So
yeah, awesome.
So they have some pretty cool things, of what I brought. I've got a couple of voodoo dolls for my youngest. She loved that. different little things, but then I realised they were getting that age where I probably should be home, otherwise I'd lose that connection with them. So I made that decision to come back to Australia, and then take up a couple of roles.
8 and 6 role,
and that's where I met you. Yeah, so
beautiful. What a treat that was.
What a treat that was. Hey? So doing a bit of consulting, and for a couple relationships. I'd worked with one general manager on about 2 or 3 sites, and he said, "Come and help me for a little while." Yeah,
it was.
It was.
Yeah, so, he's a name in the industry. I'd love to get him on the show.
Yeah,
and he's an awesome bloke.
No, he is.
He's a bloody ripper bloke.
One of the best general managers I've worked with. So, but we had a very good relationship. He allowed me to do some really great projects, and obviously that helped him as well. But for both of us, we did a lot of innovation, some designs for drills, and tyre handlers, and all sorts of things that have really they're some of the things that I remember fondly about what I did. So came back, did some consulting for a couple of years, and obviously I was that's where I met you, and was working with you. And then worked for that junior company for a period of time.
Yep.
And now back into another larger gold mining company now. So
you enjoy your current role?
Yeah, it's busy. It's a busy site.
The busiest role that you've ever had, do you think?
Yeah, it's one of the most intense places I worked. It's a busy site. It's been going for a lot of years. So
a lot of maintenance.
A lot of challenges. But this design, maintenance and engineering. So look after the engineering team as well, which is interesting. So I went back to school, did a bit of.
I was just about to say.
Yeah, the company recommended that I should go and do some tertiary studies.
Was that to upgrade your role?
Partially, it wasn't necessarily a requirement, but it definitely helped. To put the pictures together. I found with what I did before and the experiences, I found doing that that course and those studies quite easy. It was just from a university point of view, having to write it a certain way. You don't have an opinion. You have to reference everything and go through all those type of things. Was a little bit of an eye-opener for me initially.
Imagine, going back to school after 30 years.
It was, but again, a little bit determined, a little bit stubborn sometimes, a little bit like you, JC, like where,
just get it
someone
done.
Says, either you can't do it or, you need to do it. And it's like, well, I'll show them, So off I went and did it and got the distinction.
Nice, good work.
And
good work.
And that has helped me in my career. So understanding the engineering side, again, looking at design and how we can improve things. If things keep popping up, from a maintenance perspective, like they keep failing or they keep, it's costing us lots of money or all those things. One of the things I learned was the cheapest time you can make a change to something or benefit is during the design process before you even build it. If you can get that right,
yep.
The rest of that, the life cycle of that piece of equipment, is going to be at its best. Whereas if you make the wrong choice, you choose the wrong pump, you choose the wrong piece of mobile equipment underground, you don't have, it doesn't have the right suppliers on site, or in Perth, or the part has to come from out of Mongolia or something like that.
Yep.
It can have a big impact on the maintenance teams and puts them under a lot more pressure. But when you get it right, it's like symphony. It's. Yep. There's no symphony. It's quiet. You don't have much feedback. You have to go and ask and say, "How is that thing still running?" And how are we going with the maintenance on it? Yeah, good. Yeah. Any problems? No. And it's like, well, yeah. From an engineering point of view, that's what you want. You should be saying, right, yeah, we've done a good job. So, but there's other reasons. There's financial reasons, to make decisions on different equipment. There's where it's manufactured, all these types of things. When I was in Argentina, it was fascinating over there. You had to be a manufacturer in the country to supply, and if not, then you had to go through this massive rigmarole in regards to, I think we bought a kiln, or they were looking at buying a kiln over there, and it was like 80% of the components can be made in Argentina, so they have to be made in Argentina, and the rest has to be built, overseas. But in some ways, it was good because it generated skills and for the economy. It definitely, but it can cause other issues. You look at some of the, the value of their money and inflation and that over there, they have problems. But yeah, I thought that was pretty good.
Yeah, we couldn't. There's no way we could go back to doing that.
No,
not
labour wise, and yeah, it's a difficult one. And we've talked about this off air a lot about costs, in the mining industry and in general. It's like how do we control that, and how do we get back on track? So.
Just find an honest supplier. Find someone who's going to try and actively drive costs down. Yeah. Work with the teams to do that. Yeah. But wow, that's bloody fantastic.
So yeah, that's in a small sort of 40 minute episode. That's sort of where I've been, what I've done. Had some really hot, really good. Mining industry for me has been very good. And again.
What would your advice be, Jace, to someone, a young fella or lady out there thinking about a trade in the mines? Obviously, with your role at the moment, you'd be seeing some. I actually think we spoke about this a month ago. You've got some awesome female apprentices.
We have
on board. Yeah,
we have some. Again, it's such a untapped resource. And the opportunity. I've got two female fitting apprentices now, which are doing really, really well.
Awesome.
One of them got the top of their class in TAFE and everything as well. And I've got some junior trades, a couple of electrical team members as well that have come from Perth. And again, working with my team, I've said we should have experienced people. Yep. We should have people we need to develop so that we can have a continuation, and that works for us in our favour. Likewise with apprentices. So we've got some really good junior trades as well that are really coming along as well. So,
do you think it's important for mining companies to be proactive in bringing on apprentices?
Totally, and I think they're slowly starting to wake up to that. What I found and what we have been pushing. as well is, again, graduate programs are huge, and
I know Westgold does a very good job of this. Not your company,
a lot of companies, including my company, they do have a very good graduate program, and we get involved with that. We go down and look at the applicants, and they do some really cool testing with them, and workshops with them for the selection process, and then we have one-on-one interviews with them as well with a panel. So we have different people from the site will come in, and then we'll talk to these individuals. You try to get that picture. What do you do outside of studies?
Yep.
You don't want to hear I'm a gamer and I spend 19 hours a day. It's gaming. No. What else do you do? What do you do with your family? What do you do? With your community. So we look at what they do outside of that as well, just to understand that person and work out if they're going to be, suitable for that role. Mining and FIFO is not for everyone as well. Let's be clear about that. You need
one of the episodes a few episodes ago when we had, I don't know if you caught it, but with Wayne Budgery.
Yes.
He broaches the same thing.
Yeah.
Mining's not for everyone.
Yeah.
Everyone should give it a go.
Yeah.
But be aware.
Putting your hand up and saying, "Hey, this isn't for me. I got no issues with that." It's you've got to have a good support network at home as well. You've got to have understanding people, family, and partners, and that as well. It's so tough on the partners. Family days, bringing people up for family days is amazing as well.
Yeah.
We get the opportunity to bring people up to site.
Yeah, I was never lucky enough while I was in mining to have a family day. Oh, actually, no, that's not true. I did work at a site, and I was able to bring my two young fellas out and see the site, which was actually really good.
Yeah, my daughters, again, I've got two daughters. One's 17 now, and one's 14. But
started an electrical trade.
One of them started. I won't hold that against her, JC.
What?
No, it's fantastic, and she's doing it in Perth, commercially. So, and because I thought, for her development and how she is, she'll do well there. And then if she wants to go into mining later, then that's fine. So we had a bit of a deal that happened with us on that. But
you reckon you'd be tough on her? If one of my boys had a bloody became a Sparky, I'd say, mate, get out of the bloody crib room. You're not allowed to be in there.
and I said to her, clean up your mess,
What?
Sparkies are renowned for, leaving their mess.
Summer, mate, summer.
But it's quite funny now. We have a bit of banter, and I'm always sending her clips on electrical. There's so much on electrical memes and bits and pieces. So she loves it. So
that's cool.
Yeah,
it's really cool.
But it's not for everyone. But they're slowly starting to learn about the apprentice. Again, you look at the proportion in the workforce. The trades versus engineering is higher. So again, working on that to develop those, and then also the untrained people. The process techs, all that sort of stuff. Just building that up, having those right training programs to bring them on board, and develop that culture as well is so important. So I think the companies are slowly starting to wake up on that, and they're starting to really look at how we do that.
Do you think they should look at? Obviously, it will also depend on life of mine. So
it does.
That needs to come into consideration. But do you think the process of a one on, one off, or one off, one on situation would work?
Yeah. Again, talking about, like, if I talk back to expat, so when I was in Tanzania, when we had the mine there, they had a full training centre, because pretty much they would grab people from the local community and then train them, and had to train them. And it was amazing how quickly they had the right training program. They had a school there, a trade school where they'd go through, and it was really good to see how they did that. And I probably bring some of that with me when I came back into Australia. Getting that field experience and then getting the classroom experience in that as well. So you are seeing some of those companies. I think you should stretch as a company, stretch yourself, because there will be always opportunities. We've taken on this. Some other companies in Western Australia, like, say, if their mines close or they're going through, those people become available, and various companies, including mine, will see those and they'll go and interview them straight away and say, "Come and work for us." They're in demand. They are in demand now. So I think companies just need to be brave and say, "Yeah, we'll commit to X amount of apprentices a year," and then that will slowly develop. It creates insurance for that company. You've got a stream of trained people that know your organisation, as well as, if not, they go into the industry and then they'll continue to, make sure that the mining industry in Western Australia, is buoyant and they have the right skill sets. So,
Beautiful. Well, Jace, we've covered some bloody ground, mate. It'll be an awesome episode. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Pleasure.
And in a couple of days' time, we've got an awesome mining service provider coming in, Clint. You'll definitely like him. So thanks very much for doing this co-hosting episode, and then obviously coming back to host as a co-host. It's pretty bloody awesome.
Pleasure, JC. Thank you.
Not a problem, mate. Once again, everyone, thanks very much for tuning in. If you're new, what we're doing is, if you're a new subscriber, what we're doing here is taking our mining service providers and mining suppliers from the mic to the mine. Thanks very much.